doctors. Good afternoon. Welcome back to our classes. Dr. Swarna Balaji online Ayurvedic classes. Today's topic is COLLE'S FRACTURE. If you are going to attempt your Shalya examination, at that time you have to cover definitely this COLLE'S FRACTURE, because in most of the examinations, whatever may be the university, this is a kind of fracture which is asked in most of the exam papers. And it is the most common thing which is asked in your Viva point of view also. So that you have to have a basic idea and in detail explanation regarding this COLLE'S FRACTURE. If you want to learn fracture and its classification and our Ayurvedic part Bhagna means, you can refer our Shalyatantra playlist. I'll give you the playlist of Shalyatantra link in the description box. You can check that fracture and Ayurvedic part Bhagna in a separate videos. So now we are going to learn this COLLE'S FRACTURE. I'll provide you the basic and the most important things to be covered in your examination point of view. So that concentrate on this lecture. Firstly, if it is asked in the examination, you have to cover the definition. You have to write what is COLLE'S FRACTURE. Next, what is the mechanism of this COLLE'S FRACTURE? Later on, what are the displacements you will be noticed in this particular COLLE'S FRACTURE? And the next thing is, what are the clinical features that are noticed in this kind of fracture? And finally, treatment. What are the treatment you will prescribe to this particular type of fracture? Okay, now moving into our video. Firstly, definition. The fracture which occurs through lower end of radius. You all know the radius. If the lower end of radius within 2.5 centimeters of wrist joint, that is fracture through lower end of radius within 2.5 centimeters of the wrist joint. I am mentioning the particular centimeters also, within 2.5 centimeters of this wrist joint, with or without avulsion of ulnar styloid process. Okay, the ulnar styloid process may or may not be associated, but the fracture will be noticed in the lower end of radius within 2.5 centimeters of the wrist joint. It is considered as COLLE'S FRACTURE. This completes the definition part. Moving into mechanism. What is the mechanism noticed in this particular COLLE'S FRACTURE? It is caused by fall on palm of outstretched hand. If you fall down with your entire weight bared on this palm, means if you fall down by keeping your palm on the floor, at that time your entire weight will be bared by this palm itself. At that time there may be chances to occur this COLLE'S FRACTURE. Fracture is transverse but often commutated. Okay, fracture is transverse type which is seen in this particular fracture. If you want to know what is transverse fracture, you have to refer our video of fracture. You will find that in the Shalyatantra playlist. Displacements. What are the displacements seen in this? Lower fragment of radius displaces upwards, backwards and laterally. We all said no, the abnormality will be noticed in the lower end of radius within 2.5 centimeters of wrist joint in the definition itself. So that you have to mention that particular point in this displacement. The lower fragment of radius displaces upwards, backwards and laterally. Supination of this lower fragment is seen. Next, what are the clinical features? The clinical features which will be noticed in this kind of COLLE'S fracture is, it is named as dinner fork deformity. Sometimes in your examination, it may not asked as COLLE'S fracture. It may be asked right about dinner fork deformity. Or else in your Viva point of view also, they may ask what is the another name of COLLE'S fracture. Or else, what do you know about dinner fork deformity? You have to answer that time this COLLE'S fracture definition itself. It is known as dinner fork deformity due to, why the name is given? Due to posterior displacement of this lateral fragment. Okay. Tenderness at the lower end of radius will be noticed. These were the clinical features. In a healthy condition, it will move to same level or high level. Next, what are the treatment? reduction, immobilization and rehabilitation. Reduction, immobilization and rehabilitation means reduction. Here, disimpaction by traction means you have to counter the traction which is occurred in this particular point, particular Colles fracture. Correction of backward displacement of this radius will be done in the first point, reduction. Immobilization. Here, fracture is immobilized with a complete plaster for a period of 6 weeks. Next, rehabilitation means active movements of all joints will be done in this point. Reduction, immobilization and rehabilitation. This completes the treatment principles. What are the complications? This is an extra point you have to add in your examination. What are the complications? Malunion and restricted shoulder movements and elbow movements will be noticed in the complications of this Colles fracture. Okay, this completes the details regarding the Colles fracture. It is also known as din of deformity. You have to mention this in your examination. Okay, definition, mechanism, displacement, clinical features and finally concentrate on the treatment. 3 procedures, as I have said, no, you have to mention them in your examination. If you write in this format means you will get a good score. If you want to learn Bhagna, if you still have a time in your examination means you can add Ayurvedic part Bhagna and its types names in your examination at the last of this Colles fracture if it is asked for an essay answer. So what you have to do is listen to this video and attempt your examination, all these headings which is said by me. So if you found this video is useful, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, share our video to your friends and juniors. Don't forget to subscribe and like our channel for getting more and more updates through our channel. Thank you. Stay tuned for more updates.